Avoid moving to Florida unless you can handle these 10 negatives. What's up, everybody? It's April Laura, your Florida realtor, and today I am talking about the negatives to living in Florida. No place is perfect, and you're probably figuring out whether or not you want to move here. So I have 10 negatives, and the last one, number 10, is the most important, so make sure you don't miss it. But if this is your first time to my channel and you want to know everything there is about working, eating, sleeping, playing, and living in Florida, and about the negatives about Florida, then make sure you tap that subscribe button and ring the little bell so you're notified every time I do a new video, because it's pretty much all I talk about. I love helping people relocate to Florida. My team and I have specialized in it, and we'd love to help you too. I love putting content out and educating people that are looking to move to Florida. I'd like even more to help you with your real estate needs. So make sure you give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, somehow get in touch with us, because we've got your back when you're moving to Florida. Now let's get into the 10 negatives. So number one is gonna be the people and attitudes. So when you come to Florida, I've heard it time and time again, people complain about this laid back attitude that everybody has. And a lot of people are coming from like the Northeast or a bigger city, and they're used to fast service, and they just don't understand why people are not moving faster and they're not getting things done. And it could be a little frustrating. And then when people are frustrated, they tend to take it out on other people. So they might have an attitude, they might be very impatient, and that just trickles down the line. We also have a lot of transplants here, so there's a lot of different personalities and expectations that are clashing. So you will find that people have attitudes, they have entitlement attitudes. Maybe they think that Florida should be this way and it's not. So, be aware that there are a lot of attitude in different areas in Florida. And I think it's because we have so many people from different places. But yes, there are quite a few people here that could be very laid back, whether they're restaurant workers, working in retail or doctor's offices. I do hear that a lot, and it definitely exists. So be aware. And then also remember that Florida is a red state. So you will most likely see people that are waving American flags, having them outside of their homes, having them on their cars. A lot of trucks will have American flags, and a lot of boats will be waving American flags. So they're very proud and they show it. We have a lot of gun owners, and those people also believe in what they believe in, and they have their opinions. So you're probably not going to change those opinions, but be aware that people and their attitudes, their opinions, this is very common in Florida, and hopefully you won't have an issue with that. That goes into number two, which is contractors, general contractors, workmen, and even handyman. It's really hard to find great contractors. Right now in April of 2022, it is extremely difficult to find people to work for you. We have such a shortage in the real estate market, with new construction being built in vast varieties, whether it's a big builder or just somebody building a house through a general contractor. It's really hard to find great plumbers, electricians, just workmen to do the work. I am very close with a lot of big builders, salespeople that are pretty high up, and I just had a conversation with one yesterday, and they're even having trouble. So they are releasing homes and lots and things like that strategically, so that they don't have to have escalation clauses and go back to buyers that are already in contract and say, hey, we need to increase your purchase price because it's now costing us more, whether that be in labor or labor materials or what have you, because that is the reality of the real estate market right now. And you will find that if you're an individual home owner and you need work, it's really difficult to find work right now, to get people to show up. And it's always kind of been not the greatest place to find great work in Florida. I'm just gonna be real about that. I have noticed that other people that have transplanted here and that are tradesmen, most of the time they have a higher quality of work and they do very well and become very successful business owners because they are on point, they're structured, they show up, they're tidy, they have all these great qualities that you may be lacking in a lot of people that have businesses here in construction and in workmanship. So keep that in mind, and if you find a good general contractor, tradesman, handyman, or handywoman, make sure you hold on to them. I have a really good friend who's a general contractor, and I refer their company out all the time. So if you need anybody, just let me know. Number 3 is drivers. The drivers in Florida are, it's challenging to drive in Florida. There are a few reasons I think this happens. Number 1 is Florida has always had a lot of transplants. People want to live here. It's beautiful. It's like you're living in paradise. So we have a lot of different transplants from a lot of different states, and we also have a lot of international transplants. Maybe some people are coming where they drive on the other side of the road. I don't know, but I do feel that this lends to, a lot of different driving styles. And we also have a lot of people that vacation here all the time. So, when you're on vacation, you kind of drive a little bit differently than when you're going to work from 9 to 5 or you're going out to run errands. And we also have a lot of retirees, snowbirds. We have people that are here just for the season, of all ages. So again, those type of people are not driving and don't have the same urgency and aren't going at the same pace as some other people. We have times of the year like spring break where we have a bunch of, young people out partying and having a good time. So all of this lends to the driving situation. Now, I have heard that Florida is 3rd highest in the country, only behind Texas and California, with the most fatal crashes in the country. So, keep that in mind. And you're also going to be probably paying a little bit more in car insurance, maybe, depending on where you're coming from, because of the driving situation. And definitely make sure you have good insurance because you will need it. I actually just got into an accident a couple months ago. I was sitting at a red light and I look up at my rear view mirror and somebody slammed into my trunk. And thank goodness it wasn't horrible, but I definitely had some whiplash. And the driver ended up being a young man that was on his learner's permit, and he wasn't supposed to be driving by himself, but he hit me, and I'm going through that whole process now. So make sure, in fact, the last 2 times I've had an accident, it was people that just ran into me for no reason. The other guy, I was in my lane and he just kind of side-swiped me. It was the weirdest thing. So definitely some bad drivers. You have to be very alert, very aware, and you have to have good insurance. This 4th one, I'm just gonna throw in there. I mean, I don't think it's really a negative, but I'm a dog lover, but there's dogs everywhere. So if you are not a dog lover or you don't want to go out and see a bunch of dogs everywhere, then Florida might not be the place for you. I mean, for me, who doesn't love man's best friend? But I find it a little bit odd sometimes when I'm like at the shopping mall and I used to see small dogs, maybe even like small to medium-sized dogs. Now I see like standard poodles and big dogs, like even at the shopping mall, which I do find a little strange, I'm not gonna lie. And there's also the people that have the dogs in the carriages. I see them a lot out like everywhere. You'll see dogs at restaurants, but we do have a lot of outdoor living. So people don't want to leave their dogs outside. They want to bring their dogs with them. Now, of course, we have dog beaches, we have dog parks, but that's where dogs should be, right? There are some times when I go to the beach and I'll find dogs there, not a lot, onesie, twosie, where they're not supposed to be there. It doesn't really bother me. Of course, I don't want to step in any, landmines, but otherwise it's just fine. But you will find dogs pretty much anywhere a human can go. You'll find dogs there with their humans. And if that's an issue for you, you should know that. Number 5 is affordability. Now, we all know that the real estate market has been completely insane in the last like 2.5 years. So my buyers are feeling the effects of that. What used to be $350,000 is now honestly close to like $500,000 or maybe even more. What used to be $600,000 is closer to $800,000 these days. So it's not as affordable as it used to be. People are still calling me and they're like, for years, for decades, we've thought about and wanted to move to Florida, and now we're finally gonna do it. We're selling our house and we're coming down and we have X amount, to invest. and I start sending them listings, and maybe they have a visit. In fact, I had a visit from my buyers from California that are buying a home. They just kind of want it turnkey. They travel a lot internationally, and they came here, and honestly, what they could get in Palm Beach County for their budget, it doesn't really exist. They were very disheartened, and this is happening more and more and more with people that are coming in. So be aware. And those buyers, they actually went up a couple $100,000 in their budget, and they didn't want to, but they could. So they're coming back at the end of this month, and we're gonna look at some more options. And they've also had to look in other areas. But I'm not sure if that's really gonna help, because for people like that want new construction and don't want to be all the way out in Westlake, sometimes I do suggest like maybe Port St. Lucie is a good option for you. And they're like, no, I want to be in Palm Beach County. Then they come here and, you know, like this couple. So they are going to be checking out Port St. Lucie. They didn't really want to. So, which means they've changed their location and they changed their price point because they had to. This is happening a lot. You should be aware of that. Your cost of living equation, the biggest number in that is going to be your housing. And housing costs right now are very expensive. Same on the rental circuit. Rentals are extremely high, hard to get, and landlords are expecting a lot. Like sometimes they want more than 1 month of rental payment. They want 2, 3, 4, maybe 6 months, or people are paying in cash up front 6 months worth, a year's worth of rental costs. And so it's, you know, not allowing regular renters to have a chance to secure these rental units. So just know that Florida is not as affordable as it used to be. And on top of all of that, interest rates right now, April of 2022, they're going up. They're expected to continue to rise. And also home insurance continues to rise in Florida. It's been happening for the last couple years, and it's still happening. And you know, you have to equate your property taxes in there as well. So not as affordable as it used to be. Not sure what the future holds, but as of today, it's just not that affordable. Number 6 is allergies. So I don't suffer too much from allergies. I have a sister that lives in Tampa, and she does. And every year during pollen season, she has flare-ups. So pollen season, especially in the Tampa area in Florida, it runs from about December to May, but it peaks in February, March. And the main pollen that I'm talking about would be oak trees and pine trees, but we have other pollen from other foliage and grass pollen as well that happens. So if you're prone to these type of allergies, then you definitely want to be aware of that. We also have red tide, and I know it's supposed to happen both East Coast and West Coast. I feel like it happens more on the West Coast of Florida. And red tide is a result of algae blooms. They're harmful algae blooms, and they happen because there's a large concentration of aquatic microorganisms, and I guess they release into the air, and a lot of people can be allergic. And the allergies can be pretty severe. They cause respiratory issues like coughing, wheezing. You can have chest tightness, itching, burning eyes, congestion, you know, all of the typical allergic reactions. Honestly, I did have one couple that came here and they were checking out both coasts, East Coast and West Coast. When they went to the West Coast, the wife had such a bad allergy attack, and they do believe it was from red tide. She just flared up. She was wheezing, coughing, you know, living like that during that season, or if it happens as far as red tide, is very uncomfortable. So they actually halted their search for homes and their move to Florida because of that outbreak. And they said they may come back and see how it is at another time, but pretty much they think that they're not going to be able to move here because of it. So if allergies are an issue, if you're very allergic, you definitely want to come spend some time and be here during the peak allergy season and see if it's the right place for you. Number 7 is going to be wildlife. I have to mention wildlife because we do have a lot of wildlife in Florida. The main question I always get is alligators. People call me, they're like, April, you know, I'm terrified of alligators. Well, guess what? I am too. So I have to tell you, I'm a Florida resident my entire life. I've lived in 3 different counties, and I've never ever seen an alligator in any of the communities that I've lived in. The only time I've ever seen alligators is in like the national parks or, you know, rivers that I've gone to visit, or if you go camping. So basically, for the most part, you're not going to see alligators where people live, or you're gonna see alligators where they live in their environment. They don't want to see us and we don't want to see them. They do migrate, so they're migratory species. So if there's a new development going on and they're clearing the land, an alligator might revisit that area to find, oh my goodness, there's a bunch of humans here, it's not the same, and then they'll leave. But that's where you'll see an alligator. Otherwise, you're only going to see them in their natural habitat. But we have all kinds of other creatures too. We've got snakes, we've got all kinds of birds, which that doesn't really bother people most of the time. We have lots of insects, we have iguanas. Iguanas can be really annoying because they multiply, they hang out, they love to be in the sun, they're near the water. In some areas, having some issues with iguanas, you don't want to try to pet them or get close to them. Normally they don't bite, but they can bite, and they do have teeth, so just kind of steer clear of them. We have all kinds of animals that have kind of been brought here also, like the curly-tailed lizards, and I don't usually mind lizards, but I don't like the curly tails. They get real big and fat, and they don't bother you, they just run away, but I just don't like them. And then of course we have all kinds of ocean creatures, right? So if you're gonna go into the ocean, you're gonna somehow come in contact with something that may tickle you or bite you or sting you. Of course, we have jellyfish, we have man-o-war, which are very kind of dangerous. Their sting is way, way worse. So, read up on that. We have stingrays. So, you wanna make sure that you're not gonna get stung by a stingray because that's pretty bad. These things don't happen very often. Again, I grew up on the ocean in Florida, and yeah, I've gotten stung by a stingray, nothing major. But most of the time you're gonna come into contact with like sea lice, which can make you itch, like little things that'll make you itch. But we do have lots of creatures everywhere. Of course, there's sharks, there's all kinds of creatures everywhere. We've got spiders, cockroaches, lots of mosquitoes, especially in the summertime. So that can be really annoying. And that's why a lot of people do have the screened enclosures, because they want to keep out the mosquitoes. I woke up yesterday morning and there was a big black bug up in the corner of my ceiling, and I thought, what the heck is it? I didn't know what it was. I didn't know, should I swat it away? Because I didn't know if it had wings. For me, the scariest, because some of these insects, they fly and it just freaks me out. So I ended up getting it down and with a broom, and I swept it outside. It ended up being a beetle. But if you're a homeowner, if you're living in Florida, you are gonna have to have pest control to make sure that little insects, mostly cockroaches, ants, spiders, things like that, don't come into your house. It's just a way of life here. Okay, number 8 is gonna be construction. Oh my goodness, in Florida, there's always construction on the highways. Why? Because our state is growing and our cities are growing. So there's always development, and I'm not just talking about like housing. There's office buildings going up, there's apartment complexes going up, they're tearing down things, they're renewing them, and they're widening the roads all the time, whether it's on the highway or within the local streets. They're doing construction on the highways, and it makes me crazy. There's always shutdowns. I travel to different cities a lot, and I have family members that are in different cities. So sometimes I try to go at night, or I travel back at night just to avoid the traffic, and it never seems to fail. There's always, every so often, I'll hit a construction zone late at night and everything goes down to one lane. And even though there are not a lot of cars on the highway that night, it'll take you an extra 30 minutes, 45 minutes. It makes me crazy. So construction, I'm sure there always seems to be construction, and it could be horrendous depending on which city and which area you're living in. So be aware that there are gonna be slowdowns, and there's gonna be a bunch of people here that aren't from here, so they're not used to driving. And when they do construction, it just confuses people as far as drivers. And if it's raining, it gets even worse. So there's a lot of construction that you have to be aware of. So just map out your places, leave early, and know that this could slow you down. Number 9 is gonna be the weather. And most people come here for the weather. There are a lot of other great things about Florida, but the weather is on the top of the list. But there are some weather patterns and some times of the year, as far as our weather, that are not really optimum. Summertime is what I'm talking about. The heat in the summer is brutal. If you do not like the heat, do not come to Florida. It is hot, hot, hot. I'm a Floridian and I can't stand it. It's April of 2022, and this morning around what, 10 o'clock, it was already 86 degrees. So by noon, it's probably gonna be close to 90. This winter, we barely had any cool snaps. So we really haven't had too much of a relief. And now we're going into the late spring and summer, and it's gonna be a scorcher. Basically, everything you touch in the summertime is hot. You have to stay inside air conditioned as much as possible. You have to wear sunscreen all over. If you're fair skinned, make sure you're wearing sunscreen. You're gonna end up wearing big brim hats. If you're out on the water or out on the boat, we have swim shirts. I have one with a hoodie. I put that on and I put a hat on. You have to protect your skin. You will get fried. And there are a lot of people here that love the sun and they just roast in the sun. Their skin becomes all leathery. They get really dark, almost bluish purple looking sometimes. It's really weird, but we do have people that love the sun that much and it's crazy. But it can be very, very, very harsh. The sun here is stronger than it is in other areas. So make sure you are aware of that, and if you don't like the heat, you shouldn't be here. The other thing is rainstorms in the summertime. So we have this massive heat, and then it's coupled with thunderstorms and rainstorms pretty much every single day. Almost every day of the summertime, you're gonna find a rainstorm. They happen anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes to 45 minutes. And they come out of nowhere. They can be very violent. They're very dark, very windy, lots of thunder and crashing lightning. And some days, honestly, I kind of like it. But when I'm out showing or I'm out and about doing errands, whatever it is, it proves to be very difficult to be on the road. And those flashes of buckets of pails of water coming down, that also affects drivers. So people that aren't used to driving in that type of weather, the roads can become very slick very quickly, and there tend to be a lot of accidents when there's rainstorms. So if I'm showing you a house and it's raining, you or I may be a little bit late. Now the 10th one is the most popular one, and it's also the most important one, and that's hurricanes. If you have a fear of hurricanes, you should probably educate yourself. Okay, yes, we are hurricane prone. We're always in the direction that they're going somehow, some way. When it's hurricane season, you really just have to kind of pay attention. I know people that move here, hurricane season comes around and there's a hurricane way out in the ocean and they're tracking it. I'm a Floridian. I don't even pay attention to that unless it's like 2 weeks out. I start paying attention like, oh, okay, we're in the cone. And then there's a cone that you have to pay attention to. Where do the several different track systems, where do they predict it to go? And there's like 13 of them. It's ridiculous. So there's always lines going everywhere and there's a cone. So if we're heavily in the cone, then I check back in a few days and go, okay, where's the cone now? Because the cone always shifts. So if we're still in the cone, then I go, okay, it's getting closer. A few days later, where's the cone? And I'm a Floridian also, so I already have my supplies. You have to have water, non-perishable foods, candles, flashlights, batteries. Of course, your storm protection for your home should already be ironed out. Do not wait to get any of these items or supplies to the last minute because they will be gone. As soon as hurricane season comes around, people start to prepare. People that just moved here, like I said, start preparing even earlier. The hurricane may not even hit us, but you have to be prepared. So house generator, if you're gonna have one, get it ahead of time. If you wait to the last minute, water will be gone, batteries will be gone, generators will be gone. There will be fights at the stores. There will be crazy, like what happened with the tissue paper during COVID. Well, that happens regularly during hurricane season. So we're kind of used to it. But anyways, I wait until like a week, 2 weeks out. I start paying attention and then you make the appropriate decisions. It depends on the category also of the hurricane. So it's really about educating yourself and being prepared. And the great thing about living in Florida and hurricane season is that you can prepare. It's not like an earthquake that's going to come out of nowhere or a typhoon that's just gonna hit us and we're not gonna know about it. We know it's coming and we can prepare. But if that still makes you nervous and you think that you can't handle it, then you may not wanna move to Florida. But in order to find that perfect place that you may be looking for or wanting to know about or want to go see, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, somehow get in touch with us because we've got you back when you move to Florida. And until next video, I'll catch you later.